This program is brought to you by Emory University.
On March 16, 2015, the Center for Faculty Development and Excellence and the Office of Global Strategy and Initiatives at Emory University hosted a talk by Cate McCraw, a program officer with the Fulbright Scholar Program, titled An Introduction to Fulbright Scholar Grants for U.S. Faculty and Professionals. In part one of this two-part video, Ms. McCraw covers the vision that led to Fulbright scholarships, eligibility criteria, the academic scope of the awards, and how to select from the many available scholarships.
So today we're going to touch on a number of different programs that fall under the Fulbright Scholar umbrella. The majority of the time will be spent on the core Fulbright U.S. Scholar Program, which I think is sometimes the most well-known or familiar aspect of the program. It's longer-term grants of 2 to 12 months for teaching and research activities around the world. The first thing I'd like to talk about is about Senator J. William Fulbright. I think Fulbright steps beyond the bounds of a traditional academic exchange program, and that it's very much a public diplomacy program at its core. Senator Fulbright said international exchange can turn nations into people, and the mission of the program today is very much that we see Fulbrighters as citizen diplomats. We see you as representatives of the U.S. in your host country, with the hope that you will, develop lasting relationships with colleagues, community members overseas, bring your U.S. expertise to your host institutions, and also bring a great deal of knowledge and cultural awareness with you back to the U.S. And in 1946, he introduced legislation that ultimately passed the Senate unanimously to create the program that now bears his name. To date, as was mentioned before, there have been over 325,000 participants in the program, and we're proud to say that they've gone on to become heads of state and Nobel laureates, acclaimed artists, and respected leaders in a wide variety of fields, from the arts to the sciences. Next, I'm going to touch on some general eligibility criteria for the Fulbright program. One thing we'll talk about is that when you're applying for a Fulbright Scholar grant, you'll look at the catalog of awards that's published every year, and you'll be applying to a specific award in a specific country. So award requirements can really vary in terms of the degrees that are required or eligible disciplines for a specific opportunity. But these are some of the general things that apply across the board for the program as a whole. So one U.S. citizenship is required. Unfortunately, permanent residence is not sufficient for the program. So U.S. citizenship is required, and this applies at the time of application, as do all of the other criteria here and on our website. A PhD or equivalent terminal degree. About 80% of our awards require a PhD or terminal degree in the field. There are, though, that's obviously the vast majority of them, but there are really interesting, unique opportunities for professionals outside of academia, as well as people that don't necessarily have their PhD at this time. Teaching experience as required by the award. You'll see if you're looking to do a teaching grant, the amount of teaching that you're expected to have done at the higher ed level varies by award and by countries. The last thing I want to point out here is that some of our eligibility requirements have changed, particularly waiting periods and lifetime limits. So with the launch of the 2014-15 competition, these two requirements were waived by the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board, which is the presidentially appointed governing body of the Fulbright program as a whole. There used to be a required waiting period between Fulbright Scholar grants. That's no more. There also used to be a lifetime limit on the number of grants that one scholar could receive. That is also no longer the case. So we encourage and welcome applications from former Fulbrighters. There are a few other things, there are a few special things that you would want to take into consideration if you're a former grantee, and how you craft your project statement, why you're proposing to return to a country or have another Fulbright experience. Preference is still generally given to candidates who have not had a former Fulbright grant, but we encourage applicants to reapply if they're interested in doing so. In terms of some general information about the profile of our grantees, grantees generally come from over 500 institutions, and that's every type of institution in every U.S. state, as well as U.S. territories. So we also have selected scholars coming from Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, and Guam. We have candidates and scholars from all levels and ranks of academia. I think there's a common misperception about the program that you have to be a full professor, a tenured professor, in order to qualify for a grant. But there are numerous opportunities for faculty at all levels of their career. We have grants that are open to early career faculty through full professors, and then there are actually grant opportunities that are open specifically to early career scholars and postdoctoral candidates as well. So there's really the whole range of stage of career. We also have great diversity in terms of the fields that people are coming from. So in addition to kind of the more traditional grants for teaching and research for faculty members, we receive great applications from professionals, and this includes artists, writers, independent scholars, and we're also happy to receive applications from retired faculty as well. Overall, we currently have a Fulbright Scholar program operating in over 125 countries around the world. The catalog of awards can thus be a little intimidating if you don't have a country in mind when you open it for the first time, because there are so many opportunities. Our grants are going to faculty members as well as administrators and professionals. And then depending on the program that you're applying to, the duration of a grant can vary. So I think another common misperception about the program is that if you're awarded a Fulbright grant, you'll be gone for an entire year. Generally for the core program, so again, those teaching and research grants, we have grants from 2 to 12 months. One of the questions that we receive most often is my field represented in the Fulbright program? And the answer is almost always yes. We receive applications from an incredible array of disciplines, and that's something that we take great pride in the program, is the diverse perspectives that our grantees are bringing to the program. One thing that we like to say is that you can really do anything on a Fulbright, you might just not be able to do anything everywhere. You can almost always find an opportunity that is open to someone from your field. One of the reasons for that is that almost every country offers an all disciplines award. And that means that applicants are welcome to apply from any academic field. Another common question that we receive is about language requirements. This again can vary by country and by award. We do see in general, English is often sufficient for teaching awards. So you don't necessarily need to have foreign language proficiency in order to apply for a grant or be awarded a grant. For research activities, this is the last point here, it's generally a requirement that you have the language skills necessary to complete the scope of the project. But oftentimes in a teaching setting, at least for the majority of disciplines, scholars find that certain topics are already, or certain subjects, are already being taught in English at a university, or that the university and its students are open to having an English-speaking professor come for a semester or a period of time. Moving on to selecting an award, I keep mentioning the catalog of awards. This is available online. It's published every year in February. That's the opening of our competition. And for the few months leading up to the day when the publication goes live on our website, our office is working very closely with our partners overseas. It's a very searchable catalog online, so you can look for award opportunities by things like region or country, by discipline, by activity, or by category. So again, the three basic types of grant activities through the Fulbright Scholar Program would be teaching, teaching/research, or research. Our Distinguished Chair Awards are the most prestigious awards offered through the Fulbright program. They also vary in grant length. There's generally a teaching component, but the exact description can vary by countries. Distinguished chairs are often called on as someone that can be called on by the embassy or the commission to give public talks or discuss their discipline in public forums, do more community outreach type activities on top of what they may be doing in a research lab or in the classroom. There are some multi-country opportunities available, and they are listed here on the screen. There's an Africa Regional Research Program, an opportunity in the Middle East, North Africa region. There are a couple opportunities in Europe to spend time in multiple countries. More information about these is available on the website, but again, in general, you want your application to be tailored to a specific place and a specific activity. But what you would want to do is, I always suggest that people click into the award descriptions and look at those criteria again. What's the grant duration? What are the eligible host institutions? Is my discipline eligible? Is my discipline preferred? Again, this is a direct reflection of the priorities in country. So we sometimes say that you can think of the award descriptions like a job posting, and you want to find the job posting that's the best match for you. Make sure you meet the degree requirement, stage of career. Also available in the catalog, in addition to the listing of the awards that are offered, there's information about grant benefits. These vary significantly between countries, and they can vary from year to year. In general, we have last year's figures posted on our website for you, so you can have them as a frame of reference. The packages generally include a stipend, an in-country living allowance, and travel funds. Now, in most countries, or in some countries, there's also allowances and benefits for dependents. So we certainly encourage applications from people who are interested in bringing a spouse or interested in bringing children. We find, many countries, the embassy or the commission on the ground is very invested in making sure that the whole family of the Fulbrighter has a positive experience in country. Some of, I think, my favorite stories that I've heard from past Fulbrighters have related, not just to their work at the university, but what their kids have done while they've been on the grant. This is to give you a visual snapshot of what our grantees are working on. I mentioned earlier that the 3 different types of grants through Fulbright are teaching, research, and teaching research. In recent years, we've seen the most growth in the teaching/research category. Generally, I think the perception about Fulbright is that, like I said, you need to be a full professor and you need to be able to commit for a whole academic year. Standard grants do range from 2 to 12 months, but flex grants, flex meaning flexible, was the Department of State's way of recognizing that it's not always possible for a faculty member to be away from their home campus for 6 months, for a year, for a semester. And also that some projects are more conducive to multiple visits over time. So flex grants are grants for which an applicant can propose multiple short-term visits over the course of 2 to 3 years. But again, it's an initiative to make Fulbright truly more flexible for scholars in various fields. And this is for people with a research component to their grant, so either teaching research or research. Let's see here. Then the next thing to note would be Global TEFL. This is an award opportunity that's a bit different from our standard model. In that it's generally for candidates in the fields of education and linguistics, related disciplines. And it's not to teach English overseas, but rather to teach the teachers of English overseas. The last thing is the salary supplement piece. And this is an initiative to further public diplomacy through teaching excellence around the world. So this salary supplement is available. It's a benefit that's available to grantees with a teaching component of their application, teaching or teaching research awards. The supplement intends to raise the grant amount to the level of the individual's salary for a comparable period. It's capped at a max of $10,000 for each full grant month. But it's basically a grantee will receive this supplement when the total of Fulbright payments plus any sabbatical pay provided by the home institution is less than their base salary.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.